Hello, I am Tarık Toros. Welcome to what's happening in Turkey. Erdogan's rivals in jail. Parliament heading to İmralı. The darkest week in modern Turkish politics. Turkish politics has entered one of its stormiest periods in years, right as the AKP government marks its 23rd year in power. The country is now shaken on several political fault lines at the same time, from opposition leaders in prison to new Kurdish peace talks. To understand the scale, Turkey is a NATO member, an EU candidate country, and a pivotal regional actor. But today, its politics are defined by sweeping crackdowns, long-term political detentions, and an executive branch that dominates the judiciary. President Erdogan now has two main rivals behind bars. Selahattin Demirtas, one of Turkey's most influential Kurdish politicians, has still not been released, even though the European Court of Human Rights has issued a final, binding ruling ordering Turkey to free him. Rumors are everywhere that he may be released only if he quits politics. Erdogan's strongest challenger in the last presidential race, Ekrem İmamoğlu, has been deprived of his freedom for 250 days. And last week, prosecutors finally announced the indictment. They are asking for a total of 2,532 years in prison. And while all this is happening, Ankara has opened a new peace talk process with the Kurdish DEM party and Abdullah Öcalan, the founder of the PKK and a central figure in Turkey's decades-long Kurdish conflict. This week, the Turkish parliament decided to send a commission to the prison island, where he has been held in isolation for nearly 27 years. Let's begin. Erdogan's strongest rival faces 2,532 years in prison. Ekrem İmamoğlu, the mayor of Istanbul and the man who leads Erdogan in every presidential poll, has now spent 250 days behind bars. Last week, the long-awaited indictment was finally released. It's nearly 4,000 pages long. So far, no one seems to have read it from beginning to end. The document labels İmamoğlu the leader of a criminal organization and demands 2,532 years in prison. Yet the Turkish public barely reacted. Polling consistently shows that 60% of people, including more than a third of AKP voters, believe the investigations against İmamoğlu and CHP-run municipalities are politically motivated, not legal. İmamoğlu has requested that his trial be broadcast live on TV. Even Devlet Bahçeli, the leader of Erdogan's ultra-nationalist coalition partner, the MHP, has repeated this call twice. But since the judiciary answers directly to Erdogan, no one expects transparency. Earlier this year, the government blocked İmamoğlu's official and campaign social media accounts. Supporters opened new ones. This week, those accounts were also made invisible in Turkey. Platforms, especially X, have been complying with government requests without court orders, a trend that has alarmed rights groups. Europe hits a wall. Erdogan refuses to release Demirtas. This month marks 9 years since Selahattin Demirtas, the most prominent figure of the Kurdish political movement, was imprisoned. His detention has long been condemned internationally. The European Court of Human Rights ruled twice that Turkey must release him immediately. The second ruling, issued on 3rd of November 2025, is final and binding under international law. Yet Demirtas remains behind bars. This has fueled speculation of possible political bargaining between Erdogan and Demirtas. Former Parliament Speaker Bülent Arınç recently visited Demirtas and claimed Demirtas was ready to leave politics. Demirtas denied that immediately, though in a later, softer message, he said he had no anger and would continue the struggle, even if not in active politics. 3 weeks after the final ECTHR ruling, Demirtas is still waiting. Hope is fading. At first in 27 years, Parliament moves to engage with Öcalan. Now to the Turkish parliament. For a year, Turkey has quietly entered a new peace process climate, something Ankara officially denies, but everyone sees in motion. This month, MPs have debated one question. Should Parliament send a delegation to meet Abdullah Öcalan? This week, they agreed. A cross-party committee with one MP from each party will travel to İmralı Island to meet the PKK's founding leader, who recently declared an end to armed struggle. This is historic. It would be the first time in 27 years that Parliament formally engaged Öcalan. Yet contradictions remain. The Parliament still refuses to recognize the Kurdish language. Just last week, Kurdish remarks by DEM party MPs were added to the official record, then deleted 2 hours later. Moves like this deepen doubts about the sincerity of the new process. Mazlum Abdi takes the stage and the Turkish delegation walks out. This week, the Middle East Peace and Security Forum was held in Duhok, northern Iraq, a major regional meeting attended by thousands of experts, politicians and journalists. Former Turkish Prime Minister Ahmet Davutoğlu and several MPs were also present. But the person who drew the most attention was Mazlum Abdi, commander of the US-backed Syrian Democratic Forces, a key actor in northern Syria's political future. He appeared in civilian clothing, speaking calmly and confidently. Yet just as Abdi arrived at the venue, Davutoğlu and the Turkish journalist abruptly left their hotel and rushed to Erbil. A silent protest. This reaction tells us something very clear. Turkey cannot move forward in Syria until it clarifies its position on both Mazlum Abdi and Öcalan, and until the internal Kurdish peace process has direction. The Turkish delegation's discomfort was the clearest sign of the political knot Ankara still cannot untie. The UK shielded Erdogan as a strategic player. Finally, a major story from London. Richard Moore, former head of MI6 and former UK ambassador to Turkey, gave a remarkable interview to the Financial Times. Moore has long enjoyed unusually warm ties with Erdogan's inner circle. As ambassador in Ankara, he reassured Erdogan after the failed 2016 coup attempt that Britain stood firmly by him, a message that reportedly earned him Erdogan's lasting trust. The FT interviewer asked the key question. Erdogan was once praised as a reformist democrat, but he now rules an authoritarian, repressive system. Isn't Britain too soft on him? Moore replied, "Of interest to me is the role they play, and I am positive about the overall balance of what Turkey brings to the party." His answer makes it clear. Britain has prioritized strategic interests, migration control, defense cooperation, intelligence ties over human rights, democracy, or political freedoms in Turkey. The new Labour government under Keir Starmer has maintained the same silence. Not a word about Turkey's political prisoners. Not about İmamoğlu. Not about Demirtas. This was the moment when the so-called Brotherhood of Socialism effectively broke apart. I am Tarık Toros. Thank you for watching What's Happening in Turkey. See you next week.